Hi, welcome back to Common Knowledge, show where I take a look at 10 common Magic the Gathering cards, and I'm going to tell you whether they are good in the Pauper format or not. Let's get started. Card number 1 is Crusader of Odric, which is 2 and a white for a star human soldier. Crusader of Odric's power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. We've seen plenty of creatures do this. I think one of my favorites, I guess it works a little bit different, but Beast of Burden. Beast of Burden is number of creatures in play, so that's why this thing costs 6 and not 3. But still, we've seen cards like this before. But that's a rare. This is a common. We've here. Let me show you a different card. Leonardo. Big Brother. There you go. This is a 3-mana 1/3. So different stats a little bit, but this gets +1/+0 for each other creature you control. So this is a little similar in some ways, but also you can sneak this out for 1. You're always paying the 3 to get this thing out. So you're not getting like a burst of damage in the way that you can do with sneak. I've always found these creatures to be kind of bad, honestly, because it's so easy for the opponent to turn the combat math around on you. Let's say you have 2 other creatures on the board and this. So this is a 3/3. And you swing in because your 3/3 is bigger than your opponent's 2/2. Well, then they play a cast down on one of your other creatures, and then now this thing instantly shrinks to a 2/2, and then they can block this thing with their 2/2, and you trade. So you've lost 2 creatures, and they've lost a card and a creature, or they do it in a way that they don't even lose the creature, and that's a real feel bad for you who played this card. And I think I just as well don't play these cards. Leonardo's a little bit different because you do get that sneak, that big burst of damage. If you have a giant board and he comes down, he does the damage that turn, and that's pretty incredible, honestly. Like, it's like that card and Orokusaki are both really mixing it up for Pauper these days. And while I don't like that they're UB cards, I do think it's cool that some new cards are really shaking up the format a little bit, which is a format very much dominated by Modern Horizons 3 still. So it's nice to see new cards coming in and making a real impact, even if they're UB cards, which, yeah. But what does that mean for Crusader of Odric? I just don't think you play it. I don't think the only deck that you would really play it in is a white weenie deck, and those decks now very much don't need it. The big cards that you play in those are Leonardo, but also the Chocomog from Final Fantasy. And I don't think any other big creatures really hang in that deck. They're just not needed. You want to go super wide, and you're fine. You don't need one big tall creature that benefits from going wide, especially when this thing doesn't have any sort of evasion on it. It's just not really that good. So what do I end up giving a card like this? I think I'm going to give it like a 2.3, 2.4. Yeah, let's go with a 2.4. I don't think it's very good. Next up, Sage's Row Savant, not Servant. Ugh, whoops. Sage's Row Savant is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Vidalcan Wizard. When this creature enters, you scry 2. It's a pretty normal Magic card right there. It's not a terrible ETB trigger, but you get that on a Candy Trail. So, is this thing better than Candy Trail? No, not really. A pretty vanilla 2/1. You're paying the 2 mana for it when Candy Trail just costs the 1. I guess it can block a certain amount of stuff and get a trade sometimes, or force a block sometimes. Still, just imagine all the different cards you can play that would do something similar to this or better. Stuff that could just draw you a card. You've got 2 mana guys The Avatar one. There's a noble that is 1 and a blue for a 1/3 that makes a clue token. I think a clue token is better than scrying too. Almost all the time. Almost all the time. So I don't think this has a place in any of your decks. You'd have to really be heavy into a scry theme, and even then, I think you probably have creatures that scry better than this guy as well. Maybe not quite for the mana cost, but I'm gonna give this guy just a straight up 2. No, I'm gonna give it 2.2. 2.2. I think he's kind of whatever. Blind Phantasm. This card's not good, but man, do I love it. Only in Future Sight. It's Blind Phantasm's 2 and a blue for a 2/3 illusion. That's it. But you love it because I really like Future Sight. I love them trying these big frame treatments for these vanilla creatures. They did it for a few other ones as well. It's Mass of Ghouls. So not that one, but the Future Sight one. Oh, yeah. Look at that. The red one's the Fomori something. Fomori Nomad. Yep. And then Six Pride is the white one. Blade of the Six Pride. Yep. Oh, Blade of the Six Pride looks so cool. That's the coolest one of them. Blind Phantasm's also really good. Don't get me wrong, this one looks pretty good. And then the green one's a Centaur. That's a bad way of doing it. That's a bad way of doing it. Is it Centaur Courser? No. Oh, not the. I mean, that's Future Sight, but that's not the right one. What is that other guy called? Oh, this is not going to work the way I want it to. He's probably not. Yeah. Oh, I have to know. We have the technology. We know how to do this. Advanced green Centaur. Do you know? Do you know the name of this card? I hope you do. Be pretty good. And Future Sight. Nessian Courser. There you go. So that's your cycle. That's your 5 of these guys. They're all bad. They're all bad. They're all just vanilla creatures that are not particularly on rate. I guess they were kind of on rate. That Centaur was a 3 mana 3/3. This is a 3 mana 2/3 in blue. That tracks for blue. The white one was a 2 mana 3/1, I think. So they're all kind of bad. But you're not getting them because the cards are good. You're getting them because they look awesome. And for 15 cents, I think you could buy a whole lot worse Magic cards. Worse looking Magic cards at the very least. Let's give this thing a 1.3. Look at it. Just look at it. It's so cool. So cool. Terrifying Presence is 1 and a green for an instant. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt by creatures other than target creature this turn. That's an interesting fog. That is an interesting fog. This doesn't get played in the fog decks, to my knowledge, because the fog decks generally don't have a creature that they care about getting through or continuing to do damage. You know, this is a good fog if you have a giant creature or even just a couple of halfway decent sized creatures. So you know that, okay, this one guy can block really well and take out another creature. And then the rest of these guys aren't doing any damage at all. So I see the use case for it, but the fogs really only get used in kind of the fog decks, right? And those don't care about this. They would rather play regular fog because it's cheap. They would rather play Tangle. Is it called Tangle? I think it's called Tangle. Where you're keeping the creature's tap for a turn. You want to do Moment's Peace because it has flashback, so you can use it twice. The fogs that get used in Pauper are kind of solidified. I think we know which ones we end up using, and Terrified Presence just isn't one of those. this could be I think this is a really underrated Commander card. If you tried playing it in Commander, I think you could do some really cool, messed up things with it. But in a format like Pauper, it's fine. It's another fog that isn't as good as the fogs that we have already. So let's go ahead and give it a 2.6. I think it is the best card we've seen so far today, but that's not saying a heck of a lot. Sky Diamond. Ooh, speaking of commander cards, Sky Diamond is 2 mana for an artifact, and this artifact enters tapped, and it taps for blue. That's all it does. Originally from... Originally from... I want to say Tempest, and I'm positive Tempest is wrong. But it's the only one I can think of right now. Mirage, of course. Of course it's from Mirage. Goodness, I should have gotten that. Anyway, Sky Diamond, a classic Magic card. Not good in Pauper. Don't play it in Pauper, but play it in Commander. Try it in Commander. It's no Arcane Signet, obviously, but it's kind of the next best thing to an Arcane Signet. If you really need the colors. Yeah. The diamonds, I think, are all cool cards. Not in Pauper, though. Pauper, this gets a 1. No, it's got to be better than 1.9, right? 2.9. 2.9, sure. You know, it's not I think mana rocks are a little underrated in Pauper, but they're still not very good. Especially these that interplay tap. Man, that kind of pains me to say that, though. Just because of the use you see in Commander. Anyway, let's keep on moving to Memory Leak, which is 2 and a black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, or from that player. Wait, what? Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from that player's graveyard or hand and exile it. That's why would you? Okay. I get it. I understand it. And it cycles for 1. Ooh. Cycle for 1. That's really good. That's just a 1 mana cantrip in black. Uncounterable cantrip, in fact, in black. Who cares about this? I just want the cycling. The card, I don't know. What is this, like, I don't even know what this is from like what is like an exile a card from an opponent's hand or from their graveyard. Actually, you know what? There's a Dreams of Steel and Oil. That's the card I'm thinking of. Dreams of Steel and Oil. Single black mana reveals their hand. You choose an artifact or creature card from it. Then choose an artifact or creature card from their graveyard, and you exile the chosen card. Damn. What? That's a hell of a card. That's why it's uncommon, because it exiles 2 cards from the hand and the graveyard. That's cool. This you're paying 3, and you only get to exile 1 of those things. Now, you get to choose anything. Not a land card, but you get to choose anything other than the land card. Here's the real problem: sorcery speed. You're paying 3 mana to do this at sorcery speed. If you're going to exile a card from a graveyard, it has to be at instant speed. Has to be. Unless it's like Bojuka Bog, which you're getting for kind of free. I just don't understand putting something like that at sorcery speed. I don't know what it really nets you. And honestly, I think if this card just said pay 1 to cycle, and that's all it said, don't worry about anything else on this card, I'd go, that's not bad. Just a 1 mana black spell that says draw a card. You don't even have to pay the black for it. It's just that it's a black card. So I kind of don't care what it says on the other part, but it does say stuff there, and I think what it says there is bad. I'm gonna am I gonna give this thing a 3 just because it's cycling 1 on it? I think so. Screw it. Sure, why not? Cycling 1's a good ability. Let's keep on moving to Whipvine. Look at this thing. Originally from Alliances. It's got 2 versions. Both of these versions look really good. This Alan Williams one looks pretty good. He did them both. But look at that. Poor bird. All right, Whipvine is 2 and a green for a 1/4 plant wall with Defender and Reach. You may choose not to untap this creature during your untap step, and you can tap to tap target creature with flying blocked by this creature. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as this creature remains tapped. It's, saying the word tapped quite a bit. It sucks that you have to have blocked with this thing before you get to tap a creature down and tap a flying creature down. Flavor-wise, obviously, it works. Hey, the bird flew into the vine, and the vine has now trapped it. Sure. But I would want my vine to proactively go trap that creature. So your opponent's just not going... I don't know. I guess it's not that they don't attack in, but they certainly attack in a smarter way. I don't know why this thing really has power if the point is to tap down the creature. Like, why would you give it a point of power at all? I like that it has a point of power. I just don't understand why it does. This is a bad card. It's just a bad card. 3 mana for this. Even if it takes out a flyer forever, how much does that matter? You know, what card are you so scared about in Pauper that you're going to play a card like this? And I don't think there is one. Either you're playing against little fairies that sure you can block, but the tap ability doesn't really matter at that point. Refurbished Familiar, I guess, but this thing kills a Refurbished Familiar. It kills most of the fairies too because of the 1 power. So you're not really tapping it down for that either. Like, what are you actually tapping? Glinthawks? Core Skyfishers? Maybe? Pinnacle Killship, you block it, but it kills this thing. So it's not like you're getting the value of... I don't know. I don't like this. I just don't really like it at all. Let's go with a... Let's go with a 1.2. This card's really bad. Looks cool, though. Yavimaya Sojourner is 7 and a green for a 4/6 Treefolk with Domain. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each basic land type among lands you control. Okay, so you get this down to... You have to play 5 color, but you get this thing down to a 3 mana 4/6. Still pretty bad. Yeah, I don't like this card at all either. This card is even worse. I'm going to give this one just a 1. Just a 1. Yeah, I think you could do so much better than this. Domain forces you to build your deck in a very specific way that it's probably really hard to play, especially in a format like Pauper, where it's just not as easy to color fix. The card is just a vanilla 4/6. That's pretty bad. Yeah, this is a really bad card. Why would you make a card this bad? Even if you had full domain, it's still not very good. Woof. Recoil. Hey, I like Recoil, especially from Invasion. Recoil is 1 in Dimir, which is a blue and a black. For an instant, return target permanent to its owner's hand, then that player discards a card. So the thing about discard cards is that they really suck when the opponent doesn't have any cards in their hand. So you play, you draw a Duress, and the opponent doesn't have any cards in their hand. You go, dead draw. This sucks. And now you have to wait until your opponent potentially holds on to a card, and then you play the Duress, and it's not good. You're just playing with dead cards. Recoil is never a dead card. Now, yeah, it costs more than a Duress. It costs 3 times as much as Duress. But look at what this thing does. They have to return a permanent to their hand. A permanent. So, could be a land. Doesn't say non-land permanent. You can totally make them return a land to their hand. and then they have to discard a card. So if they do have no cards in their hand, whatever you make them return, they have to put in the graveyard. Sweet. Love that. But even if you're not in that situation, you're still bouncing something back to their hand. So that's a tempo loss for them. And they're discarding. So that's card disadvantage. I like it. Instant speed, too. Instant speed can really screw some people up as well. That's awesome. You know, what if they play some kind of instant that like a combat trick instant, and that was the last card in their hand, thinking, oh, I've got one on them now. I was able to get it. And then you go, not only am I going to bounce your creature so the combat trick doesn't work, now the creature is the only card in your hand, and now you have to discard it. That's so good. God, Recoil's such a good card. Does it see any play in Pauper? Nah, not really. I think people would find it too slow. But man, am I going to buy 4 copies of Recoil just to have them? Maybe I'll do that. I'm going to write it down. Recoil. Well, next time I buy cards, I'll buy some Recoils. I love Recoil. We'll give it I'm going to give it a 3.3. And I don't think that's too generous. I think that's honestly what it deserves. But I would probably give it a lot more if it was really up to me. Next card. This is our last card. This is our last official card of the day. It's Gargadon. 5 and double red for a 7/5 beast with trample. And it also has suspend 4 for 1 and a red. Is this our first suspend card? It might be. Rather than cast this card from your hand, you may pay 1 and a red and exile it with 4 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When the last is removed, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. It has haste. Now that I read it, I'm pretty sure we have had a suspend card on here before, but this is cool. As a guy with a Jorira of the Gitu commander deck, I think suspend is a neat mechanic. I think there's some cool stuff in there. This one is from Modern Horizons 2, so not originally from Time Spiral when suspend was a mechanic of that set. One that we're going back to. I think Greater Gargadon was the one. We can look, right? Greater Gargadon. Yeah, there you go. Greater Gargadon was from Time Spiral. So just the regular Gargadon is that's a cute little reference. 7/5 trample that when it does come off suspend will also have haste. Pretty good. And you get to suspend this on turn 2. That's pretty good. Spend this on turn 2 and it shows up on turn 6. So can you keep yourself alive long enough to get this thing out? Maybe. In red, yeah, you probably have ways of using lightning bolts and other burn abilities to just keep the board semi-clear for this guy to come out and wreck shop. The real problem with a lot of these cards is you have to show this face up. When you're suspending, this card is face up. It is known. Your opponent goes, okay, I have 4 turns to find an answer to this thing, 4 turns to find my cast down, and I am going to play in a way that is going to help me draw more cards so I can find that cast down and then take this thing out when I need to take it out. And that's the real problem with these cards is just that known information. That Jorira the Gitu deck is very easy for the opponents to go, oh, I see what you're going to be doing in a couple turns. And even though I do have some ways in that commander deck to manipulate time counters and maybe make the math happen a little quicker, for the most part, somebody goes, hey, you're going to drop an Eldrazi on us in 4 turns. You should die. And it's happened before. And I totally understand when it does. I do try to play common or very cheap Eldrazi creatures, not cheap in mana cost value, but cheap as in like 15 cent, 30 cent ones that are under $1. I don't want somebody to go, oh, you just stuff your deck full of Ulamogs, because that's kind of lame. It is cool though that this still counts as a cast trigger. So you do not a cast trigger, but you still cast the card when this happens. So I guess in some ways that's cool for the blue player because they also have an opportunity to counter the cast. But if you do have something that says, hey, you need to cast this, or when you cast it, that you still get those triggers. So like the Eldrazi's that generally have cast triggers. Cool that happens sometimes. But this guy, I mean, 7/5 trample, still just a good ability generally. I guess if you drew this really late in the game and you're like Gruul ramp deck, you just have a 7/5 trample, which is fine. But you're going to suspend this guy, and your opponent probably just stops you before you actually get to do anything with it. Yeah, I guess it's not all that good. But it does make me think about cards that I like. Let's give it a 2.4, and it probably doesn't even deserve that. I'm going to do a bonus card, and then we'll get out of here. Bushwhack, there you go. What a card. Bushwhack's a cool card. Single green mana for a sorcery. You choose one. Either you search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle, or target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. I'm going to show you Lay of the Land. It's a cool card, originally from Apocalypse. You just search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. That's all it does for a single mana. And Bushwhack does the same, but it also has a fight spell attached to it. So it's just better. It's just better than Lay of the Land. It's just sad because I kind of like Lay of the Land. But Bushwhack is a good card. These are both really good abilities. Got downshifted originally from Brothers War as an uncommon, but it got downshifted to common in Foundations, which is cool. Cool to see a card like this be available for Pauper, even if it doesn't really get played. I think one of the big reasons it doesn't get played is because we also have Segu Wildlane, which just has a Lay of the Land here that will then shuffle into your deck, which means you can get Lay of the Lands later. But you also just have a halfway decent 3/3 Flying Dragon eventually as a modal spell here. And that's probably a little better modality than the fight ability. Because this is also being used in spy decks. Because it is a creature. If you mill it into your graveyard, it counts as a creature in your graveyard and not as a sorcery. This would always be a sorcery. So the decks that want that also, sorry to keep comparing these two cards, the Winding Ways, the Lead the Stampedes, those cards are able to get this because it's a creature, and then you can still use this effect instead if you want. And you can't get that off a Winding Way. So the Elves decks that play really low land counts will sometimes, not very often, but sometimes they'll play Segu Wildlane because they also want to be able to draw a bunch of cards, draw a bunch of creature cards, but also have that ability to go search out for lands and that Lay of the Land effect. And I think that's just put Bushwhack in a kind of tough situation where it doesn't really have the value for the decks that would want a Lay of the Land effect. It's still a cool card, though. Like, these are both pretty solid abilities for a single green mana. It's a hot commander card, too. Like, that's... I think this is very underlooked, undervalued in Commander. So we found some cool Commander cards tonight, but I don't know if we saw any good Pauper cards tonight. What do we give this? 3, I guess. 3.1. But yeah, not really something that goes in your Pauper deck. A real Pauper bummer these days. But hey, play Commander, I guess. Until then, see ya.